Okay, this is the final report on Reed's general wave case, number 672. I'm going to try a little differently to keep this shorter, so we're going to do this just by areas. So each report will show a different area, and that way we'll keep the report a little shorter. So the first thing we're going to do is area number 14. As you recall, this is the tooth that he did, and these are my radiographs when I got the tooth. The root tip was fractured on the mesial root. And then we sectioned it sagittally. This is one half of the sagittal section, and you can see there's quite a bit of pulp still present in the root. And then the other side of the sagittal split looked like this, looked fairly clean. But even in looking at this, it's hard to tell where you should really look. So as we described in the prologue, you have to figure out where the sectioning disc went so that you're not misled by sectioning debris. And when you look at the dehydrated specimen, it's really very difficult to tell where the sectioning disc was. You can kind of see a little bit there where it sectioned, but you want to examine an area of the specimen that doesn't have any sectioning debris. So I'm going to kind of describe briefly how we went about and did that. In the wet specimen, this is before it's dehydrated, you really can't tell where you should be looking. So we're trying to figure out where is the virgin canal, so you get a sense of what the irrigation device is. I like to look at the sputter-coated sections, and you'll notice I always kind of show the sputter-coated sections because when you look at them, it's really obvious where the sectioning disc went. So when you look at this area, this canal is a virgin irrigated canal right up to where the yellow line is. Here you can see the sectioning disc. So this area will have some sectioning debris, but this area is virgin canal and probably represents what the canal actually looked like after the irrigation device was used. Now on the lower, in the lower area here, you can see this is where the sectioning disc went, and this is probably sectioning debris. So looking at the sputter-coated section makes it a lot easier than trying to look at the wet specimen. I've outlined where I think the sectioning disc went, and now I have a sense of how to really choose the areas I want to examine much more carefully. So we're going to examine in here because there's probably no sectioning debris, and we can look at in here because the sectioning disc was way over here. So this is probably virgin canal as well. Last time we looked at this as an example during the prologue. So this is how I chose the areas based on this sputter-coated section. And in this section, we're going to look at area 14 and take a look and see how this virgin canal that was instrumented by Reed and where a gentle wave was used, we're going to take a look at that, and it'll probably give us a fairly accurate picture of what the device is capable of. So when we look at area 14, we come in here. This is the area we're going to be looking at. And you can see that the sectioning disc has not affected this area. And when we look at the survey section, this is what it looks like. You can actually see where Reed's instrument actually created the smear layer. And this area of the canal, I believe, was never instrumented, or it doesn't appear to be. And when you look at the dent in the wall, it has that gentle wave appearance of open dentinal tubules. And here you can see some pre-dentin. We'll look at more carefully at this later. And here you can see a smear layer that has not been demineralized by the device, as well as some further predentin that has not been demineralized. So let's go ahead and look at a 100 stitched. This is at 100x, and we can look at it a little more carefully, get a sense for how clean the canal is. And there's basically just open dentinal tubules, a little bit of predentin kind of remnants still present, but a very, very clean canal. Here's some predentin that still hasn't been completely demineralized. Here's looks like a place where the instrument created some smear layer. And here's the apical extent of the instrument. And here you can see some predentin chalcospheroids here. We'll take a closer look at these. And this was quite an extensive stitch at 500x. We can go in a little tighter. And it looks to me like all of the peritubular dentin has been pretty much demineralized. So the device apparently does a very good job of demineralizing the peritubular dentin. And then I looked at another area in the same area that I called section B. And further up in this area where we saw the chalcospheroids. Thought it might be worthwhile taking a closer look at that. And here you can see the chalcospheroids of the predentin. It's kind of aesthetically very beautiful looking at images like this. And this is the stitched image, so you can kind of get a sense. And you can see there's a distribution of the demineralization that takes place. And again, in none of these sections do I see any evidence of any bacterial morphotypes at all. This is all just demineralizing predentin and open dentinal tubules. And some predentin that hasn't been demineralized at all. And you see some red blood cells, coagulated red blood cells as well. So that's area 14. The next sections we'll look at different areas one at a time. And I think that's a better method for us to do this.